All right, third video on scientific notation. We are now going to take numbers that are written in scientific notation and we're going to multiply them together. We're going to have to remember the product property with exponents, and I will remind you how to do that. So let's just practice 4 times 10 to the third power, and then we're going to multiply that by, we usually write it actually like this, 6.3 times 10 to the fourth power. Okay, so both of these numbers are in scientific notation, and when you multiply numbers, it really doesn't matter the order that you multiply them in. And you guys know, just like 2 times 3 is the same as 3 times 2. So I have a bunch of different numbers here, and I'm just going to rearrange the way they're written. So I'm going to multiply the 4 times the 6.3, and then I'm going to multiply the 10 to the third power times 10 to the fourth power, because we want our answer to stay written in scientific notation. I don't want to write out a huge long number. So the first thing I'm going to do, and I'm going to use my calculator, is go 4 times 6.3, and that's 25.2. So I'm going to write 25.2. And then 10 to the third power times 10 to the fourth power. If you remember when we were doing exponents, when you're multiplying 3 tens right here and 4 tens right here, you really just add the exponents. So we're gonna have 25.2 times 10 to the power of 7. There are 3 groups of 10 and 4 groups of 10, and that would make a total of 7 groups of 10. Okay, and then we have one last step left. We want our answer to be in scientific notation, and there's one problem with this answer. This number right here is not in between 1 and 9.9. So I need to move the decimal 1 spot to get the number 2 and 52 hundredths, or 2.52. And that means to get back to this problem, I would have to multiply by another group of 10. So that's going to change this from 10 to the 7th power times 10 to the 8th power. Okay, so our final answer would be 2.52 times 10 to the 8th power. So when we move the decimal here and we're making our numbers smaller, and then to get back to this one, it would become bigger. That is why we are adding a group of 10 there. 2.52 times another group of 10 would give us 25.2, or 25 and 2 tenths. So let's practice a couple more of these just until you get the hang of it. So if you want, after I put the problem up, you could pause the video and try and solve it yourself and then go over it with me. So let's do 6.3 times 10 to the 8th power times 2.8 times 10 to the third power. Okay, so if you want to pause your video now. Okay, so I'm going to switch the order. I'm going to do the 6.3 times the 2.8, and then I'm going to multiply the 10 to the 8th power times 10 to the third power. So 6.3 times 2.8 equals 17.64, and then we have 8 groups of 10 there and 3 groups of 10 there, which would give me 11 groups of 10. And I'm almost done. The only problem is, again, this number right here is not in between 1 and 9.99. Repeating, it is a little bit more than that. So we want to move this decimal 1 spot here, because in scientific notation, our numbers have to be in between 1 and 9.9. So I'm going to move the decimal 1 spot to get 1.764, which means I would have to multiply by another group of 10 to get my actual answer. So I'm going to change this 10 to the 12th power. Usually when you take two numbers and they're in scientific notation, so they're greater than 1, there's a good chance that you're going to get a number that's greater than 9.9 here. So when we change it to this, you're always going to be adding a number here. You won't ever subtract a number here because when we multiply these two numbers, you won't get a number less than 1. Okay, let's keep practicing this. Let's do one more example and then I'm going to throw in some negatives. 6.8 times 10 to the 4th and 4.3 times 10 to the 0. Okay, so I'm going to rearrange it and do 6.8 times 4.3. And that is 29.24. And then 10 to the 4th times 10 to the 0. Remember, when we are multiplying numbers with exponents, you just add the exponent. So 4 plus 0 just stays 4. So I'm going to have times 10 to the 4th. And remember, anything to the 0 power is just 1. So I could technically just erase this and write times 1. Okay, but now this number isn't quite in scientific notation. It's too big of a number, so I have to move the decimal 1 spot. So I'm going to have 2.924 times 10 to the 5th power because I'm going to have to multiply an extra time to get back to that original. Okay, so there is the final answer. If this number was less than 9.9, then I wouldn't have to worry about changing that there because it would already be in scientific notation. Remember, scientific notation, the first number is between 1 and 9.9, and then the second number is 10 to the power of something. Okay, let's try some more, but instead of just giving you these nice positive exponents, I'm going to throw in some negatives. So let's do 2.67 times 10 to the negative 3rd times 5.12 times 10 to the 5th. Okay, so I'm going to take my 2.67 and multiply it by my 5.12. And I got 13.6704. And then I have my 10 to the negative 3rd power times 10 to the 5th. Now, same rule as last time, I'm going to add negative 3 plus 5, and I'm going to get a positive 2. So I have times 10 squared. And then I need to make this number in scientific notation. We're almost there. That number's just a little big. So the final answer is going to be 1.36704 times 10 to the 3rd power, because I divided by 10, so I need to make sure to multiply 10, do the opposite to get back to my answer. So that would be that number in scientific notation. And this actually isn't a very good example. I probably wouldn't write this number in scientific notation because the real answer outside of scientific notation, 1, 2, 3, is 1367.04. And that's really easy to write compared to that. We're just practicing. Let's do another one with a negative exponent. 2.8 times 10 to the negative 10th and 4.1 times 10 to the negative 6th. Okay, so we have 2.8 times 4.1, and that is 11.48. And then I have 10 to the negative 10th and 10 to the negative 6th. And remember, when we have the same base, we're multiplying, we just add our exponents. So that's going to be times 10 to the negative 16. Okay, so this number is almost in scientific notation. We just, again, have to move that decimal. So we're going to get 1.148 times 10, and we're going to add 1 to here. So we're actually going to get 10 to the negative 15th, because when we add 1 to negative 16, it becomes negative 15. So that is our final answer. Let's do another one very similar to that. And maybe you try it and then pause the video, and then I'll go over it. So let's do 6.82 times 10 to the negative 4th 4.8 times 10 to the negative 6. Okay, so we have 6.82 times 4.8 gives us